what we'll do is we're going to jump straight into your story, and then what we'll do at the end is we'll go back to Purpose Platform and hear a bit more about that. Yeah?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So, what I wanted to ask you is, essentially, I just wanted to hear about one of your most significant experiences that you've had with God along your journey. You feel comfortable to share with us?
Let me think. I would say, as far as faith is concerned, there's two in particular. I'm going to go with the second one because the first one I shared a bit about it on the Purpose Platform earlier today, which was about leaving home at a young age and kind of having faith and resting in God for him to provide me with a hostel, which there's more info on that on the page. So I'll go with my second one, which was I actually took a leap of faith and left my job in Next. So not the one we just spoke about. I'm a bit of a leap of faither. I'm a faith leaper. But I worked for Next for 3 years, Next, the retailer. Yeah. And I started actually as a Christmas temp. So I was in college. I was 17 years old and I made the decision that I want to leave college and just make money. I was living independently. So I've always been a bit of a hustler at heart. So I left college in my second year and I started looking for a job, and I got a Christmas temp job in Next, and they actually kept me on. Out of all the Christmas temps that they had hired, they saw something in me and they wanted to keep me on permanently. So I stayed on permanently. Within the span of 3 years, I transferred to 2 other branches and eventually became a manager. So I was a manager. Wow. Yeah. And, glory to God for that. And even still, it's God's always been looking out. Even before I really pinpointed him as thank you, God, for providing this for me. I've always been someone of faith, but I didn't used to practice conscious faith. So I always knew there's God. I know God's provided for me, but I didn't specifically thank him individually for everything he would do or see his hand in everything that I was doing. But when I was working in Next in Angel, I was a floor manager and they were closing the store down. And there was a tug on my heart at that time that I just felt I don't want to work in retail anymore. I feel there's more to life. There's more that I want to do. They wanted to transfer me to another branch because that branch was closed down. So I rejected all of their transfers and took a leap of faith. I left and wanted to pursue a job in property. Now, I had no property experience at all, no qualifications, no work experience, nothing. But I just believed in myself, and I said that my personality would go well with working in property. I just knew it. So I left Next. I was unemployed, and I was repeatedly listening to Mary, Mary, Can't Give Up Now on repeat every day as I'm going from these interviews. So I had a recruitment agent who was working with me, getting me interviews for these jobs. And she was getting me a lot of interviews. She was getting my foot through the door, but it was no's. And I just kept I was either driving to my next interview or on the train to my next interview, just listen to the song over and over, God, please. Because I don't know what I was thinking, why did I leave the job? I didn't even have a job lined up. I just left. I just was now I want to go into property. There was no logical reason why I thought I should do that. But I've always been the type of person that if I want something, I'm going to go after it and I'm going to get it. Yeah. So I stayed in faith, and about 5 interviews later, 5 no's later, but 12 days later, I was employed by my old employer, Nicola Thompson, which I started as a viewer, which is the bottom, no experience. I was just going out, opening doors, allowing people to see properties. And I had a 6-year career in that company. And I was actually the most successful negotiator in that company. So the strongest performing employee that they've had in history. And I became a manager in that company. I was a branch manager, and that's where I left 18 months ago. So that was God's hand working through and through, because I only had God to lean on during that time, because I don't know what I was thinking. And that's funny because I wasn't consciously leaning on God the way I do now, but I was relying on him for a breakthrough, and he provided. 12 days later I was employed for 6 years. So yeah.
Wow. That is crazy. What a story.
What are you doing?
Yeah. Yes, 'cause I was wondering about that in terms of when you started to, or have you always believed in God, do you think?
Yeah, I've always believed in God. My mum, my parents, my family, actually, all of my family are righteous, so they all believe in God. I wouldn't go as far as saying like they're Christian or a
Okay.
certain religion, but they've always just been believers of God, and you know, have raised us in that way. And when I was about how old was I? Maybe 14, 15. I started to go to church,
Okay.
just with some of my cousins, my sister, just through more curiosity and a hunger to just learn more. It's funny, I feel like God chose me. I didn't really choose God. I just always had a desire to get to know him a bit more. So we
Yeah.
used to go to church on Sunday, not with my mum or anything, just through free will. And yeah, sort of what shaped me and my life.
Wow. Okay. So did you just feel like, what did that feel like for you, that first initial kind of interest? Did you feel like it came from, I know you've said that kind of God chose you, but what did that feel
Mm-hmm.
like for you? How do you describe that for people that are kind of debating whether something they're feeling is God calling them, or if it's
Funny
just their own
enough, like I
initiative?
would love, yeah, it was actually more of just an initiative thing. I would love to have
Mm.
like a decorative story behind it,
Mm.
but it just felt right. I just
Yeah.
went. I couldn't even tell you like, as I said, it wasn't even conscious. Like all my dealings with God prior to the past, maybe 2 or 3 years, has
Mm.
all just been subconscious. Like I've always just looked to him, but not consciously, if that makes sense. I know it's not that helpful, but
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I don't know. I actually don't know. It's just nothing I've ever questioned, and it's always just felt right.
Mm. So I remember, because I hopped on your Clubhouse conversation earlier on
Yeah.
today, and a lot of people were talking about this sense of peace in terms of knowing God's will and whether this is the right time, God's timing and stuff like that. So that sense of it feeling right, would you say that it was a feeling at peace with a decision, or the way you're headed is a way that you feel like you know it's with God,
Yeah,
or?
yeah. I feel like it's more certainty, like in terms
Mm.
of I don't question it. It's like this. It's not me. I don't. It's like it's not my own understanding. Like who just leaves their job as a manager to go and get a job in property? Like it is
Mm.
pretty bizarre with no property experience, but there's never a doubt. I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna get it, or he. But it's not me. It's him. Like he's reinforcing what is possible and what he has in store for you, even before
Mm.
you realize he's doing that for you.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think um how you've described your relationship with God so far to us now is kind of quite I feel it, I do it, I trust, I just go.
Yeah.
Do you ever kind of talk to God before you do make a move, or do you kind of just go with it and know that he's kind of
I
supporting you 100%?
Yeah, I have, so more so recently. So now I've been consciously trusting him. I tend to
Mm.
speak to him more. But before I didn't really consult him, funnily enough.
Yeah.
I guess he was good to me. He realized that I knew no better.
Yeah.
And he was just being graceful. So amen to
Mm.
that. But now I do consult him and try and figure out, like, okay, God, what do you want me to do? Or is this the right thing? Or just give me a sign or a message, or because it's funny, you were in the Clubhouse discussion earlier, and it was, how do you know that God is speaking to you? And I would
Mm.
just love to just dial up God on the phone and just hear firsthand, what have you got to say? Because
Yeah.
trying to find these messages and hear from him is work, and that's what I find most difficult.
Mm.
But he makes himself present, and he makes it known for sure.
Mm. So, as you know, this is part of our online pilgrimage, and a pilgrimage is essentially kind of seeking a higher power, searching for God, trying to connect with him more. So you said that when you kind of wanted to start getting more intentional about finding God and kind of reconnecting with him, you started going to church. And then you said that you'll be more kind of intentional now, and more conscious. What are some of the things that you've done so far in terms of your search and trying to get more connected with God? What kind of things have you been doing?
My main tool that has helped me is I have a daily devotions book called Jesus Calling. Okay. And that book has really helped me to, one, start working my way through the Bible, because that's one of my weaknesses. I'm not great at reading the Bible. And first, I used to just write it off a bit, like, I just don't understand it. I can't read it. But someone had told me to read like the New King James Version because it's more understandable. When I refer to that version, it is actually a lot more understandable. And at the bottom of each daily devotion, there's scriptures to refer to in the Bible as to like where the information came from. So every single day, I read my daily devotion and I go and read those scriptures as well to just try and familiarize myself with the word. I watch sermons. I love Sarah Jake Roberts. She, for some reason, I just feel like she's always talking to me, like she's got that word. I'm like, okay, she's appointed to be giving me a message. Gospel music is one of my that pinnacle points, that even before I was consciously seeking God, just something about just putting on that gospel music and just listening to it, especially when you're in a certain area or space in your life, makes all the difference. Because it's funny, I find that when I listen to gospel a lot, when situations happen, like unfortunate situations or things that you're doubting, I find that sometimes the lyrics to the song starts playing in your head, but it feels like a reminder from God, that, if you know what I mean, that he reminds you of certain things through the lyrics of the songs. So you don't even realize that you're actually filling your cup when you're listening to gospel, doing those things. Because when, like, for example, sometimes when you feel a bit fearful or weary, and then in your mind you just hear the song like, the Lord is my light and salvation, who shall, and it just starts playing in your mind, and you're like, okay, God's telling me to just calm down, it's all right.
I love that. I think it's really good to just kind of allow God to be creative in our lives and how he actually interacts with us. Because I think sometimes, unfortunately, sometimes we can, if we are quite religious and not necessarily just kind of spiritual, it can sometimes kind of put us in a box in terms of how we think God works. But, you know, there's so much to him that we're never going to comprehend.
No, absolutely.
I love it when we get a chance to talk about the more unconventional ways that God communicates with us. And I think that is something really good to, for those of us that are watching that are taking part in this online pilgrimage with us. I think it's a really good way this is a good time to try something new, or be open to God talking to you in different ways than what you've expected before, whether it is through music or through a kind of a resource like a devotional, or even the Bible. If you're not really keen on it, give it another go. You know, there's lots of different ways that God can talk to you. And I wanted to ask you if you're up for sharing a little bit about your experience you shared on Clubhouse earlier about prophecy and talking with a prophet, and just kind of hearing from God in that way, if you're up for sharing that with us.
Definitely. And even just to add to what you just said, funnily enough, the other morning, I was speaking to God, and I was like, oh, good morning, God, how are you? And then I was just like, it's a bit dumb, because not dumb, but thinking, oh, he's not going to be like, oh, I'm good. Do you know what I mean? But he was like, don't doubt me, because I was sitting on my sofa and I've got like quite a large window in my living room, and it was a great day. And I was like, how are you? And it's like, as soon as I had the thought, like, well, how's he going to respond to that? Literally, the sun just gleamed through, right? Like, and it was, I just knew that was him. Like, don't sleep on me. Honestly, like, it's, if you don't get it, you won't get it. But honestly, he does find his creative ways. And I looked up at the sun and I was like, okay, I see you. And literally, like, a minute later, the clouds took it away again. Like, even those little creative ways. But another way, he spoke to me was through a prophet. a very blessed and anointed prophet. Her name is Pastor Elaine. And whilst I've been going through this transition of going from full-time employment to entrepreneurship, I went to a Bible study that was held by my uncle, and she was there. And she was speaking to my cousin. My cousin got a little emotional. She left the room, and then she looked over to me and said, "Can I speak to you?" And to be completely honest with you, even when she said that, I didn't really know or understand what a prophet actually was, or what prophecy was, to be honest with you, because I had never had something like that that said to me before. And then she was just like telling me about what God thinks of me, what he has in store for me, what I should do. And every single thing she said was completely accurate. Like, she had never met me a day in my life. I didn't even barely speak throughout that Bible study. So I knew that was definitely God talking to me through her, because it was just too accurate. Like, and my auntie told me to record it before she started speaking. She was like, "You're going to want to record this. Like, she's amazing." And that recording, through this journey, I've listened back to that recording like 100 times to keep me grounded and to keep me in faith on this mission, because it's like a reminder of what God has told me and what God has in store for me. And it's funny because this was in November 2019, and since then to now, so much of what she said has come to fruition. But naturally, it's like, you literally just can't make it up. Like, it's amazing. It's very reassuring to see that God already said this was going to happen, or this is how it's going to happen, and it's happening. So why would you not trust him for the greater promise, or to continue walking in what he has lined up for you? So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, no, I've never had that kind of experience before. So hearing it live was really quite exciting, and, you know, to hear that people are having those experiences is really cool. And again, it just stresses that God communicates to all of us in unique ways, because he knows how we're best going to receive it, whether it is the sun coming out. If you're someone that likes nature and appreciates it and is observant like that, then maybe he'll use that. If you are someone that loves or can't function without music on in the background, maybe he's going to communicate with you that way. You know, just putting people into your life. Is there anyone else in your life that you felt that has kind of come in to speak to you like that? Not necessarily like a prophet, but, you know, just God speaking through
general. Even just to even touch on what you just said about God communicating with you in ways that he knows you'll receive, I just want to co-sign that, because I feel like God, that was at the start of me. My internship finished in September, and I met that prophet in November, and that was literally at the start and the thick of me pursuing purpose. And I feel like he knew I needed to hear something solid from him at that time to keep me on this journey. Because to be honest with you, had I not have had that message from her, I may well have just headed straight back to property to go and chase the bag and, you know, forget about all this stuff. So yeah, you're right on that for sure. In terms of meeting other people, I wouldn't say in the same way. I haven't met people in the same way in terms of delivering messages from God. However, he has brought a lot of people into my life, or even people that were already in my life but not as apparent. He's brought us closer through him. Even if that's my friends who have very similar mentalities, and they're like-minded and they understand and know God, or even doing the clubhouse rooms that I've been doing, I've managed to meet so many people who are like-minded in terms of their beliefs with God and just the way that they live life and purpose and stuff. So I do feel like he's, even you guys, Luke, just, I don't even know how Luke found me, but he reached out. It might have been through Clubhouse, and it's just like when you're walking in alignment, you just somehow, the right people start to gravitate towards you.
That's really cool. Yeah, I'm really excited about these next, well, we've got 5 weeks left. I'm really excited to see what interactions we have, the more people we meet, even people that, you know, that are joining us on here tonight because they follow you, and maybe they'll engage with us and vice versa. I'm really excited to see what connections God makes over the next few weeks with us doing this pilgrimage. and see
Mm-hmm.
what comes of it. Because I think, yeah, I think it's always exciting to see what God's got planned, and being able to see it just kind of line up nicely and pan out is a really cool privilege to have. And we're really trying to, I guess, just tune into his frequency, so to speak, and just kind of be more aware of when that stuff happens. Because I think, you know, sometimes we make a new friend or we get a new opportunity and we don't think much of it. But it's just taking a minute to actually stop and reflect on that and think, what is that about? What is
Mm-hmm.
that for?
Yeah.
Where is that going? You know, you've said a few experiences you've had now where you get that initiative to make a bold move and make a big change in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really nice to see that each time you've done that, you've been able to see the evidence of it. Have you ever made a bold move where you feel like, I haven't quite seen why I had to do that move yet? Or has it always kind of gone the
I
same way?
haven't, you know, I haven't. And it's funny because I feel like God deals with us in ways that he knows is going to be most effective. And I don't know, I feel like there's some things God spares me from because he might know that I'm not going to deal with it so well. I'm not going to lie, like, I genuinely feel like, because sometimes like, I see what some people have to go through to like get to the destination and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm built for it. And funnily enough, it's like, you sometimes look at other people's experiences and you feel like you have to go through that too, but God will tailor your experience to what you can handle. God is not going to give you more than you can handle, or he's not going to throw you off course to a point where you start doubting what he has in store for you. So yeah, no, he's been good to me. Praise God.
Oh, that's really good. I'm glad. I agree. I think even in our kind of more difficult situations that we find ourselves in, we've all got different breaking points. So
yeah,
it's you know, hearing I saw your post earlier today sharing your experience as a teenager. Are you happy to go into that a little bit more and share that with us on here?
yeah, sure. So when I was 15 years old, I left home, late 15, going on 16. And it was more so because I have an older sister, and she's like my best friend. Literally, we just grew up like two peas in a pod. And she left home probably shortly before me, maybe, I can't even think of the time frame, but she left home shortly before me. And without having her there, and then just being a teenager, I wasn't a bad teenager. I wasn't the best, but I think I've always just been very independent.
Okay.
And just always having your mom. My mum was just quite strict just in terms of her expectations and stuff. Nothing major, but I think I've always been like a free spirit. You know what I mean? You've heard just throughout this conversation, when I have a thought, I just go for it. And I was like, I'm going to leave. And I left.
Yeah.
And that was it. Yeah. So
Wow.
I just even realized recently, like, do you know what? I've always been like this. Like, when I get a thought in my mind, I just go for it. Like, what was I doing leaving home at 15? But I did. And then I stayed with my auntie for a while, for a few months. And as soon as I turned 16, I tried to get a hostel. And the process, and I was in school as well. So I was actually in year 11. And the process of getting a hostel was just a nightmare. I remember just going to the housing office, and you literally had to sit there all day. You had to be there first to get your ticket because you're going to be waiting for ages. But even with your ticket first, you need to keep going to the window. Then they're going to sit you back down to do some more investigating. And you'll be there from 9 a.m. to 5 a.m. And it was for days on end, like literally. And it was, as a 16-year-old, it's actually a lot, just thinking about it, it's actually a lot to take on as a 16-year-old, to be honest with you. But at the time, I didn't even really look at it like that.
It is.
Yeah, and I was just, again, I was sitting in the housing office just on repeat. And when I, like, literally in my life, I've probably listened to that song 1,000 times because I just played it on repeat, on repeat, on repeat. I just can't give up now. I just can't give up now. Just listen to it. They'll send you home that day if we haven't been able to sort it out. Like, it is not a simple process trying to get a hostel. It's not a one-day thing. So this was probably over the course of maybe 2 weeks or so. And then, when I say homeless as well, I always say like homeless because I guess technically you could say you're homeless if you've not got somewhere to call a home. But I had family that I was like staying with. I was just saying, basically, I had family and things that I was staying with in the meantime. I wasn't like homeless on the streets. I don't really like using the word homeless because it makes you just feel like there's people much worse off. Do you know what I mean? But nevertheless, I didn't have a place to call a home, and I was looking for a hostel. So I was just listening to that song every single day on repeat, on repeat. And I find that what's funny is I never doubt. So even when I was trying to get a job in property, or when I was trying to get my hostel, I believed I'm going to get my hostel, or I'm going to get a job in property. It's just a case of when. Like, God, help me to push through until you give it to me. I never think maybe I might not get it, and maybe that's why I've been successful to date. But I listened to that song on repeat, and finally I managed to get a hostel. And I knew quite a few people who had a hostel at a time, or had heard stories about hostels, sharing a kitchen, sharing a bathroom. It's dingy. You've basically got like roommates. It was, you know, not nice. So I was just praying, like, please let me get a decent hostel. Like, let me just get something that's going to be nice, safe. And literally my hostel was like a studio flat. I had my own kitchen, my own bathroom. It was in a block of flats kind of thing. So literally, like, you go into my door, that's like my room. And then there was a door in my room for the kitchen and the bathroom. It was clean. The furniture in there was new. And it was so worth the wait. Like, God just was good to me. I, to this day, don't know anyone who's had a hostel as good as what I had. And I was content there. And then I started bidding. I got a flat. And I now actually own that flat today. So
wow.
Your trials in life and your path will always lead you to a greater good. Because if I never left home at 15 and got that hostel at 16, I might not be a homeowner today. So don't sleep on your battles and your trials, because there's always glory at the end of the tunnel.
Wow. So in that time, what would you say your relationship was like? Obviously, you said your faith was like unwavering. You know, you just had that confidence that God was going to come through. But I sometimes I feel like you can have faith, and then you've got the idea of a relationship with God, and obviously they feed into each other. But sometimes I think they can be quite separate things in terms of what your relationship looks like.
Yeah.
What would you say your relationship with God was looking like during that time for you?
To be honest with you, like I said earlier, it was subconscious. So I didn't really used to talk to God that much back then. I knew God now is more like a friend or someone you can actually talk to. Whereas back then, to me, God was like just this being up there who is orchestrating things and stuff. He's not someone who you could communicate with. That was my thoughts. And I even remember one year, it was my birthday. And I was with my mum and we were going shopping. I think we might have been, I was going to get my cake, or we were going shopping. And this was in my teens or my early 20s. And my mum was like, oh, did you give thanks for another year? Like, have you thanked God to see you? And I was like, oh yeah, no, let me thank. That's how in touch I was with God. Like, but I feel like God's always known my heart. He knew that I'm grateful for another year. He knows that I'm thankful for him, but I just never had a relationship with him. So even the fact that, to me, it seems bizarre now that how can you not thank, like, I thank God now every day for waking me up. I put prayers on the Purpose platform every morning, and the first thing I pray is thank you for allowing me to see another day. But that's because now I'm conscious that God has woke me up to see another day. Whereas before it was just very subconscious. So I didn't even, I think he knew my heart, he knew I was grateful, and he knew that I knew no better at that time.
So
and still blessed me.
Yeah, it's it's so encouraging, I think, to hear that God was still moving in your life, even though now in comparison you feel like, you know, you weren't really doing much to work on that with him in that experience. So what would you say then about the idea of because a lot of times we talk about this idea of God knowing our hearts and our intentions and our desires. So what do you think about kind of making prayer requests and asking God for things? Do you feel that God, well, I guess what I'm hearing from your story is that even though you weren't necessarily specifically asking him for things, he was providing for you, because it
Yeah,
was in there. He knew it. So how do you
right.
feel about that now? I guess because now your dynamic with him is
Um,
different. Do you kind of still go about it that way, or do you kind of speak more
no,
intentional requesting
I
him?
do. Yeah, no, I do ask him, and I feel like even then I was asking him, but just not consciously. Like I wasn't addressing him the way I would maybe address him now. So I wanted a job in
Okay.
property, and I feel like even just me listening to that Mary and that gospel and trusting him to provide that for me, even though I maybe couldn't
Mm,
articulate and speak to him and communicate with him directly the way I'm able to now, that was my way of communicating with him, and he knew that,
okay.
and that's why I always encourage people that God will always meet you where you're at. And it can be quite intimidating when you look at people in religions or they're praying and it looks all decorative and they're using all these big words, and it can feel quite intimidating, but you don't need any of that because God already knows who you are and he knows your heart, even if you're not able to articulate a prayer or you're not able to ask him in the same decorative way for things that maybe more mature Christians or religious people are able to do so. You don't even need to. Like when I look back at the way how God's protected me, provided for me, I'm like, what did I do to deserve that? And that's why I can't deny him, because far beyond what I deserve, he's provided. So yeah.
Wow, that is fantastic. I love that. It's really refreshing and really encouraging to kind of hear that experience, and hear that kind of testimony, that is just so, I guess it makes me think about when God says like we have to have faith like children, and it's just that idea of God, like you said, God kind of works with us wherever we're at, and that level of trust, and vulnerability, to just come to him and be like, okay, well, I don't know what I'm doing, or I've never tried this before, or I don't know if I'm going to stick to this. God is up for that. He's up for any kind of relationship. It doesn't matter if
Yeah.
it's like I'm going to be ride or die and I'm going to do this till the day I die. Like it could just be like, well, I'm going to try it today and I might not tomorrow. He'll take that. And I think that's really reassuring and encouraging. I know we've said we're doing this pilgrimage for 6 weeks, and you know that's quite a long time to be like focusing on your faith journey. But I just want to encourage anyone that's listening that is trying to do it and is feeling a bit intimidated by a 6 weeks focus on your faith, that even if you just do it for a day, or that you just watch one piece of content we put out, or you do the Pilgrims Challenge for 1 week, I like to think that God is happy about that and is willing to work with that, and let you grow along the way. And Nicola's story has just been evidence of that God is patient enough
Yeah.
to take you through a journey and through a process. I read a quote once that said something like, God loves you the way you are, and he is excited to see what you're going to become as well. So it's, you know, it's not like he's just pushing you to get to the next spot. He's very much in love with you and happy with where you are right now, but he also wants more and better for you down the line, and he's happy to take that journey with you one step at a time to get there. And I'm so glad to be able to hear your story about that, and this kind of that proof that that's what he's doing is really good.
Yeah.
So I don't want to keep you too much longer than what we'd planned because of technical difficulties, but I do want to just cover 2 things. So I want to talk about your purpose platform again, to make sure we get that on this recording. So let us know a little bit about purpose platform, what inspired it and who's it for.
So the Purpose platform provides motivational content, purposeful discussions, and after the pandemic events for purpose-driven entrepreneurs, faith seekers, and like-minded individuals. And I created the platform because I myself am a faith leaper, and I took a huge leap of faith in May 2019, and I left my very secure job in property to pursue my passion, which was in events. And though that didn't quite work out, after doing an internship, I realized I don't actually want to go ahead and do events for a career, but I was put on that path, which then started leading me to question, what is my purpose? And I went on the pursuit of purpose. And as a purpose-driven entrepreneur, which is what I became, I found I was very drawn to podcasts, interviews, and listening to successful people who had been on a journey similar to mine. And there's not a platform or a hub that I was able to tune into to keep me motivated, or that was providing faith-based motivation as well. And I decided to create one because I needed one and it wasn't there, and I'm a purpose-driven entrepreneur, so I created one for people like me, because I realized that actually we have a purpose in life. It's not just about going to work, it's not just about achieving our goals. There's a purpose behind this. We all have a gift, and just using that gift to serve others, which would ultimately lead to fulfilling your purpose. I just felt like more people were out there who possessed that. And I wanted to create something where we could network and come together and share it.
Wow. So,
and the purpose platform.co.
Yes, go on. I'll ask you in a minute.
Yeah.
Go on.
So the purpose platform.co is our merchandise. So we have a daily intention planner. I actually have one, to be fair.
Oh yeah, I'd love to see it. It sounded really cool.
So this is, can you see it?
Yes.
This is the daily intention planner.
Nice.
And I designed it myself, and it's like a 15-week planner. You can set your prayer requests, your daily affirmations, your daily gratitude, and there's over 100 motivational quotes in here as well. So it'll keep you motivated. And I just found that during the first lockdown, I had to be really intentional about how I was spending my time and using my days. The Purpose platform was birthed during the first lockdown, May 2020. That's when I created it. And if I wasn't being intentional, I would probably have not come to that destination. And I felt like, because of course my platform is for like-minded individuals, I felt like everyone can do with a daily intention planner. Honestly, it's a game changer. I've had such great feedback. Your days, just when you start your days with intention and you actually fill it out, it is a game changer, honestly. So yeah, that's that. I've got purposeful prints, motivational prints, custom name prints as well. So that's over at thepurposeplatform.co.
That sounds fantastic, and that sounds like a very good resource for people to be investing in if they want to embark on this pilgrimage with us, and just get intentional about working on your spiritual life. I think a lot of during this pandemic, we've been focusing a lot on, make sure you do your daily exercise, even though people weren't necessarily doing that before. Daily exercise and making sure your mental health is well. But unfortunately, some of us may have neglected our spiritual well-being. And that sounds like a great way to really focus on that and prioritize that before you crack on with the rest of your day.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, so are you doing the Purpose platform stuff full time now, or are you still pursuing events, or?
No, so I do focus most of my energy into the Purpose platform, and also just building like my personal brand. I've got a lot of credit knowledge. That's a whole other story. I basically annihilated my credit between the ages of 18 and 21 because I just didn't know what credit was. So when I started working in property, and I realized that when people wanted to rent a property, if they had bad credit, they were not able to rent it unless they could pay 6 months in advance or a UK homeowner guarantor. So it then sparked an interest in me, like, oh, well, what's my credit? Like, what is this credit thing everyone's on about? And I checked it, and it was very poor. It was very, very bad from all my mistakes and late phone bill payments and all of this nonsense that I was doing in my teens. But now I was aware of the issue. I was determined to change it. So I was self-taught credit information. I built my credit from very poor to excellent. I've had excellent credit for the past like 3 or 4 years, and I consciously done that. So I've got all of the information on like how I did that, how credit works, how certain things affect your credit and stuff. So I did do a couple of events and master classes on building your credit. I also done a clubhouse room on building credit, and I'm in the process of putting together like an ebook. So yeah, I've got loads of little things. My website's coming soon as well. So I'm just in a building and foundation stage at the moment.
Okay, exciting times then.
Tell
Lots
me
of
I
new
haven't lost you
chapters.
again, please.
Uh-oh.
Oh, you're
Oh, no,
there.
I can hear you.
I thought I lost you again. I was like, come on.
We're still here. We're still here. Yeah. So lots of new chapters. This sounds really exciting. So you said about your personal brand. So is that Nicola? Is it KBD? Your other
Yeah.
handle?
I mean, when I say personal brand, I guess it's just me. Because now I guess a lot of what I do is about my life experiences and converting it into value for other people. So yeah.
Okay, cool. That sounds really good. Yeah, I was just saying that you're going to be hosting our Daily Debs next week. So for those of you who don't know, during our online pilgrimage, on weekday mornings at 8 a.m., we're going to be having different people hosting a devotional, like short 10 minutes, just kind of starting your day with some encouragement, some motivation, some Bible-based stuff to kind of help you get started in your day. And Nicola has offered to be leading that with us this week. So that starts tomorrow morning.
Exciting.
And I was wondering if you could give us I guess like a sneak peek or a preview of what you're planning to talk about with us next week.
No, I want to. So each day, I do want to focus on like a slightly different subject.
Cool.
So I do want to touch on kind of what it means for God to use you and what that entails. Trusting in God's timing, which is something that I done on my Clubhouse room earlier. Pursuing purpose, because that's what I'm doing. And the topics will be like very much centered around my personal experiences. So hopefully the texture to the listeners will be, it will be very impactful for them. So yeah.
That sounds awesome. I'm definitely going to be watching them.
Yay.
Looking forward to it.
Okay.
Do you just want to share the names of your Clubhouse sessions that you have in case people want to join those next time?
Yeah, sure. So I'm on Clubhouse. My Clubhouse name is Nicola KBD, just like in the advertisements on this live. And I do 2 rooms on Clubhouse. One is called Soul Food Sundays, which is faith-based and purposeful discussions. The topics change every week. So today we were talking about waiting on God's timing. Last week we were talking about what did we do last week? My mind is gone blank, but the week before that we were doing the spiritual fruits, 9 spiritual fruits. And on Tuesdays I have a room called Topic Tuesdays. A couple of my friends host it with me, and that is two types of subjects. One is like educational, so I've done credit. This week we've done Tuesday gone, we've done financial literacy, life insurance and income protection. I had a couple of the girls come on who specialize in that, the FCA regulated, and it was a great session. And then there's a few more relaxed subjects like, is love a losing game, how to deal with unsupportive friends and stuff like that. So just mixing it up, but it's all very purposeful.
It sounds fantastic. I just want to say thank you again for joining us this evening. I'm sorry that it's been a bit fiddly with
We got there.
Yeah. But I've really enjoyed getting to know you a bit better, Nicola, and hearing your story has been really inspiring. So yeah, thank you again, and I look forward to
thank you for having
more
me
from you throughout the week. All right.
Well,
thank you so much, Nicola. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.